and it's still going strong. It's one thing. I don't think I'm breaking any news to anybody that print media is not exactly surging or booming these days, but this is something that I hear all the time. People say, "Yours is the only, I buy one magazine a year, and it's y'all," and that tells you how much it means to people, how much this thing means, and that's why we got to make sure we get it right. And so we do we have what I think. Hello?
I guess his phone cut off. Wow.
Well, I want,
Yeah, we lost him.
try to call him back,
Yeah,
see
I
what
will.
happened on that, Shane. And we may need to go to a break during some of this. I don't really know, but yeah, Greg, his phone may be tied. Not sure exactly. Hopefully, it's not the phone line that we called him on. Maybe we can call him. We've got 3 or 4 different phone lines there, and I've got a lot of questions I want to ask Greg, and I want to make sure I get all my questions asked because also I feel like there may be some people wanting to call in and ask a question. By the way, if we do get him back, the number to call, if you'd like to call him back, is 1-866-895-6442. 1-866-895-6442, and we will get you on the air with Greg and ask whatever question you want to ask. So if you weren't listening a moment ago, I'm talking to Greg Tapper. He is the managing editor of the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. The edition that's coming out here in just a few days. You should, if you subscribe, could get it as early as next week. Otherwise, it's going to be in the newsstands kind of near the end of June. And they're publishing 150,000 copies of the magazine this year. And if you're familiar with it, you know they follow hundreds and hundreds of high school football teams. And they also follow college teams, both large and small.
Okay, he's ready.
And I'm hoping all right, we got Greg back. Greg, this is the first time I've ever had a problem with our signal, so we're just having lots of problems here.
We'll get this right.
Greg, let me ask. Yeah, we'll get it right, and we may have to take a break here a second. Shane, are we okay on the breaks?
Yes, you got about 5 minutes.
Okay, so I still got a little time. Okay, give me an idea, how many high schools or do you follow in the magazine in the state of Texas?
So that's a moving target, but I'll tell you that the answer is that the best answer I can give you is more than 1,400. There are 1,237 UIL teams, and then there is any number of private school teams. And I'm not just talking about the big private schools. We're talking about the Houston St. Pius, the Tents, and the Plano Prestonwood, but also down to the Atlas Homeschool and the Victoria Homeschool. We cover them all. Basically, if you play football in the state of Texas, we cover you. And so I tell people all the time that we cover schools from Allen, which has an enrollment of 6,000. It was over 6,900 now, all the way down to I believe the smallest one is Benjamin, and they have an enrollment of 13. We cover you, and that's we want to make sure we cover them equally.
Very interesting. And on Friday nights, you guys are busy tweeting all of these scores and updating scores and things like that. How many people do you have shoveling that information to you to get the tweets out?
Yeah, so we have right now we have a full-time staff of 5 plus a couple of other nice contractors who help us out on a semi-permanent basis, and yeah, it's a big lift because look, on a Friday night there are upwards of 600 games going on across the state of Texas, and so are there some that you can kind of probably know what's going to happen? Yeah, but there's also a good handful that have major implications and that are that we figure are going to be pretty good games. That's what I love about covering high school football in Texas is that there's no shortage of stories. There's no shortage of intrigue and superstars and compelling storylines, and it's our job to follow it. So yeah, we kind of keep our ear to the street. We've got a great relationship with writers and reporters from across the state who will funnel us information on a Friday night. But it's a big list, and Friday nights are long nights. Start about 5 o'clock, end usually about 2 in the morning. But it's a labor of love, and it's something that we really love doing.
And can you give us a sneak peek on, you put it to bed, put it to the press May the 29th. Were you able, I guess that was before the George Floyd murder, and so you weren't able to really even mention that at all, I guess, in the magazine, right?
No, we weren't able to mention that. Obviously that has ringing implications throughout the course of, America. But we were able to, obviously with the coronavirus pandemic, that's a huge factor during our production. It's a huge factor now. It figures to be a huge factor in the fall. And so we had to kind of strike a balance between the fact that we have to acknowledge this. We have to tell people, hey, listen, there were no spring practices for college football teams, and that's going to have an impact. And there was no spring ball for high school football teams, and that's going to have an impact. But at the same time, give people the Dave Campbell's experience that they're used to, and just preview the season. So it's an interesting balance we have to strike from an editorial perspective, just to make sure that people are being informed. We want to be honest with people and say, listen, there's going to be an impact there, but we also don't want to make a 400-page magazine about, hey, isn't this virus dumb? People have gotten enough of that. People starting to us to be a bit of an escape, and so that we wanted to make sure we struck that balance.
Yeah, and so I tell you what. We've got about another minute here. I've got one more question I want to ask you. So, football in the fall, what's it going to look like? You got about a minute and a half to answer that one.
It's going to be different, and I've been telling anybody who'll listen that what we need to do is we need to all wrap our heads around the fact that this football season will be different than any other football season. I think that there will be football. I think that the headline is, I think there will be football, right? I don't think that we're going to just go through the fall and nobody's going to play. But I do think that you are going to see, I think you're going to see restrictions on the number of fans who can be at the games. At the very least, I know that yesterday there was a report out that Governor Abbott had a conference call with the FBS athletic directors and said that it's highly unlikely that there will be any more than 50% capacity at the college football stadiums in the fall. I think high schools are going to be relatively similar, but I think there's going to be a little bit more local control there. And yeah, I think another thing that we've just got to be cognizant of is that because of this pandemic, that it's going to be a factor. You're going to see teams that probably have to forfeit a game or so. But I do think we will have football in the fall, so we can be hopeful for that.
All right. That's all for that segment. Listen, I'm going to ask you when we get back, what about the Eyes of Texas song from the University of Texas? So be thinking about that, Greg. We'll be right back. You're listening to Law Talk.
Bankruptcy attorney Ed Laughlin.
I really hate to see families suffer, especially when there's something they can do. If you have too many bills to pay, the truth is that filing bankruptcy may be the best thing you ever do. I'm not just saying it, let me prove it to you. That's why I offer a free initial consultation. Call me, because you shouldn't just have to sit there and worry.
Call 1-800-492-2589. The phone call is free, and so is the appointment. You're going to feel a whole lot better.
Arch Coons, the owner of A&C Firearms in Heidenhammer, Texas, is an avid gun enthusiast and enjoys helping all of his customers to find the gun that's perfect for them. With a large selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, finding the right gun becomes easy. Go to A&C Firearms, located at 5819 U.S. Highway 190 in Heidenhammer, or call them 254-983-4417. Pistols, rifles, shotguns, ammo, knives, and a whole lot more. A&C Firearms, 254-983-4417.
Here at the Logic Nation, we often encourage you to be logical. Now, I've got two more great words to live by. Get supplied. With Studio L as a center point, Smith Supply will provide you with everything to clean anything and deliver it on time within 150 miles. That means we can deliver cleaning supplies to any facility, any business, including hotels and motels, even industries and factories, anywhere in the Killeen, Temple, Fort Hood Metro, Waco, and Austin. No matter where you are, we can ship to your order. We also provide janitorial services and building maintenance in some areas. And our Temple showroom and our online catalog are open to the public. We're here to save you money and get your supplies to you on time, every time. So, get supplied. Since 1961, we're Smith Supply, 254-773-3592, and online at smithsupply.com.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, the way they talk, the way they touch their hair. We hold details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones that we carry with us every day. Can we describe them when everything's right? Can we feel when something's wrong? Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. That's knowyourgirls.org. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
I spend a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain, sleet, and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. In 05, I helped you get out of a ditch. Yeah, I know I'm a bit rusty, and sadly in 09, it was sparks from me, your handy chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Sparks from dragging chains can start a wildfire. Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
All right, welcome back, Central Texas. You're listening to Law Talk, and I'm attorney Ed Laughlin. I'm a little surprised, Shane, you haven't brought on the A&M fight song or something coming back during this segment here. You're slowing down in your older age, I think. There, we got Greg Tapper on today. He is the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. And Greg, I did want you to know, if you didn't already know, this show is broadcast up. We're from Temple, but it goes up Interstate 35 to about Hillsboro, just above Hillsboro. So Mr. Campbell could, if he had this radio on right now, he could hear you talking about his magazine. So I just want you to know that and keep you on your toes a little bit.
Well, now I'm nervous, Ed. Thanks a lot.
Well, that's my job. That's my job. If I, the power surge was the first thing, and then we're just doing everything we can to keep you as nervous as we possibly can. Again, your ears to the ground. You're saying it's going to be different than normal. As far as you think they're going to be like letting people sit every other row and things like that in the stadiums in high school.
I think that it's going to be a challenge, and I think that, the UIL faces a number of challenges. One of the things that I think people may not understand about the UIL is that while they are the governing body of Texas high school football, they really like to be as hands-off as possible. They really like to say, all right, you decide what's best for your school district. And I think that's generally pretty wise, considering what happens in El Paso is not the same as what happens in Beaumont, is not the same as what happens in Canadian. And so I don't necessarily foresee the UIL. The only thing I would say you may see from the UIL is them put a cap on the amount of capacity you could see. That you could see, they could say, hey, listen, local control, you can go anywhere under 50% full, but 50% is the maximum that you can have. So I do think that you're going to have fewer fans in the stands generally in the fall. Now, that said, there is one other aspect to this, which is, for those who don't know, the UIL does have presently there's a ban on televising live Friday night games. The reason is it's been a long time thing where they basically don't want to affect the gate, they don't want people staying home instead of going to the game. I don't know if that people necessarily make that choice, but that is what it is. Well, now, school districts do get a fair amount of revenue from the gate. I think it's fair to assume in the fall that there's going to be fewer fans, and so do they lift that restriction temporarily to allow teams to broadcast it so that they're able to make up a little bit of that money? It's going to be interesting to see. There's still a ton of moving parts here. I would not anticipate any major announcements until July, but that is something that may be on the table. Is there may be an opportunity to televise or stream live games in the fall simply because there won't be able to be as many fans in the stands.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I'll tell you, I've saved a question. I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to discuss this next question. As I was driving to Fredericksburg last night, I have Facebook on, and I see that the University of Texas athletes are kind of demanding that the Eyes of Texas being taken away as the school song. And I don't know, I assume you've read that already, and what do you think about that? Is that legit, or is that it's just something that's not going to happen? Because I think a lot of fans, especially the people that buy the tickets that sit in the stands, are going to stay away. People that donate the extra money to the school, to upgrade facilities and all that, are going to be saying, you know what, we'll put our money somewhere else.
Certainly. It's going to be an interesting situation there. And obviously a lot of this is coming out in the wake of the protests, in the wake of in conjunction with the death of George Floyd and the various other racist, incidents that have happened across the country in the past couple of months. And frankly, throughout its history. I think that it's interesting. And I think that this is, you've got to remember that right now, there is a very interesting dynamic in college sports, especially big-time college sports like University of Texas, where the power brokers generally are white, and the players are generally black. There's a big kind of disconnect there, and I think what you're seeing from these Texas students or these Texas players is kind of taking an opportunity in the moment to, at the very least, make their voice heard and let them hear this. And frankly, one of the things that I think comes out of this is I don't think a lot of people knew the history of the Eyes of Texas. The Eyes of Texas, for those who didn't know, when the song was written in 1903, then President William Prather named it that in reference to "Remember the Eyes of the South are upon you," which is a common refrain used by Robert E. Lee. I think that, do I think the University of Texas is going to change its fight song? Probably not. That's my honest guess right now. I don't know what's going to come out of this, but what I think that this was a relatively smart move by the students, at the very least, to bring some awareness to this, to make sure that people knew about this. And I think you're starting to see that in a lot of these with as a ripple effect of these protests. For example, I think a lot of people are reading about what happened in Tulsa back in the earlier part of last century that maybe didn't know about that. I think that what's happening is that while I don't think that there is a reasonable expectation among these players that the school is going to ditch their fight song, what I do think it is an opportunity to draw some attention to it, that they know they have a platform, they know they have a moment, and they can say, hey, listen, we have a troubled past here. We have a lot of things that would make me uncomfortable that would make a black player uncomfortable. Let's talk about this. Let's start a conversation about this. Again, do I think that the fight song is going to go away? No, probably not. That would be my guess right now here on June 13th. I've been surprised before, but I will say that I think that what you're going to see is a conversation about that, and that may be all that the players are after is let's talk about this. Let's make sure that our voices are heard in this conversation.
And because this continues as the ripple of the death and the protests and things continue out. There's so many people back in the day that it's like 25 years ago. Almost everybody smoked, or a huge number smoked.
Yeah.
Now that people know, that it's not good for your health, there's not as many smokers. Back in the day, Sam Houston owned slaves. Well, is that university going to have to change the name of the university? Are we going to have to change the name of our nation's capital to, Tepper, D.C. or something? I assume you would have proposed that one, right?
Well, and I think you're right, and I think that again, what a lot of it. I don't want to speak for the players because that's not my place, but I will say that my feel for the situation is that what they're after is a conversation. What they're after is to make sure that their voices are heard, and that here they are the minority at their school, right? They're the minority at the University of Texas, and they're there kind of drawing revenue to the University of Texas. And I think that they're starting to realize the power that they wield. But they're starting to realize, hey, listen, we are an integral part of how this university operates. Let's make our voices heard. Let's make sure that people know what is important to us. And I think that this was a pretty savvy move by them to come out here and say, listen, here's what we want. We want to have these conversations. I think that what you've seen from the University of Texas administration is that they want to talk. They want to have these open dialogues, and I think this is good. I think you're seeing that a lot of different programs across the nation. Of no, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how we can make sure you feel seen. And I think that's ultimately a good thing. If we can all understand each other a little bit more, that is ultimately going to lead to a stronger union and a stronger country. And this could be a little bit of a first step. And it's really interesting that I just keep going back to the power of sports and how sports just impacts our everyday lives. To draw it back to the coronavirus pandemic, I really think that the moment that people started taking this thing seriously was when the NBA shut down, was when Rudy Gobert tested positive and they shut down the NBA. I think that's when everybody kind of looked around and goes, oh, or at least a large portion of the country looked around and goes, oh, this is kind of serious. And it's just the power of sports to start these conversations.
Very interesting. All right, folks, we got Greg Tapper here. He is with Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. We have one more segment with him. If you'd like to call in, the number to call is 1-866-895-6442. We'll be right back. You're listening to Law Talk.
DWI and criminal defense attorney Ed Laughlin.
Just because you or a loved one has been pulled over or arrested for DWI does not mean you're guilty of DWI. I'm attorney Ed Laughlin, and to be arrested and charged with DWI, the officer has to only have probable cause that you're intoxicated. It's only the officer's opinion. However, to be convicted of DWI, your guilt must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a much stricter burden. If you have been arrested for DWI or any other offense and want an attorney who will rigorously defend you, call me at 1-800-492-2589 or log on to my website at edlaughlin.com. Over the past 25 years as an attorney, I've been both a prosecutor and now a defense attorney. You need an experienced attorney who will work hard to get you the justice that you deserve.
What are you waiting for? Call Ed now at 1-800-492-2589 to schedule a free confidential appointment or visit Ed's website at edlaughlin.com. First visit is always free. You're going to feel a whole lot better. See Ed's ad and names and numbers.
Quick Wrench Automotive, your one-stop auto shop. Family owned and operated at 1402 North 3rd Street in Temple. Why go to another dealer? Quick Wrench Automotive, a full-service preventive maintenance and automotive repair center, offers a 2-year, 24,000-mile warranty on most repairs nationwide, which also includes complimentary roadside assistance. Quick Wrench also offers the best price for oil changes around at $17.95 plus tax, which includes 5 quarts of oil, new oil filter, washer fluid, and complimentary 23-point inspection. Other great deals are available on our Facebook page as well as our website, quickwrenchautomotive.com. Give us a call Monday through Friday at 254-935-2145 to speak with an ASE-certified technician. Quick Wrench Automotive, your one-stop shop for all your automotive needs.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work. Sorry, I'm late. Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi. Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, everybody in the car. Let's go.
What are we going to do first when we get there, Mom? Go for a hike?
Sure, if you want.
What about canoeing? Can we go canoeing too?
I don't see why.
What about a bike ride? No, I want to fish.
Oh,
I've never been fishing.
Honey, we can do it all.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
It's not.
Is it going to be long?
No, sweetie.
I bet it takes forever.
It's not that far.
Are we there yet?
Yep, we're here.
Already? No way. Come on.
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
All right, welcome back, Central Texas. You're listening to Law Talk, and I'm attorney Ed Laughlin. Yeah, Greg, Shane and I have this rivalry. I'm a UT grad, and he's from Texas A&M. So we always have a fight over that on Saturdays. We usually fight over who gets to play their song on the radio. Anyway, folks, we're talking with Greg Tepper, managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. That thing is about to be at the newsstands in about 2 weeks. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. In about 2 weeks, it'll start showing up on your newsstands. You can get it early if you go to texasfootball.com/subscribe.
And other than subscribing, what are some of the other benefits other than getting your magazine early, which is a big benefit? I agree.
Yeah, it's kind of the hook, but you get a lot of other great stuff. Including we do also there's a recruiting edition. Recruiting is becoming obviously more and more kind of in the mainstream of football, and so we do a recruiting edition profiling more than 400 prospects across the state. That comes out in December. So you get those two magazines, but we've also got a robust selection of online content, including, and this is the big hook for me, is we have every one of our magazines digitized. So you can go through and flip through the 1960 edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and read what they were talking about. And so if your name's ever been in the magazine, you can go and you can find it and spot it. And that is so much fun to just flip through those old magazines. And the thing I love, this is just if I can be the journalism nerd here for a moment, I just love going back and reading the way those guys wrote, because like people don't write that way anymore. It's so refreshing to go in there and to read just this prosaic way of describing something. It's so much fun. And you get to read some of the great writers in Texas history. Blackie Sherrod was in it. Mickey Herskowitz was in it. Dan Jenkins has written for the magazine. I mean, we've got a long history of fantastic writers there. And, of course, you can go back and see Earl Campbell listed in the magazine, or you can go see all these fantastic legends of Texas high school football who had their name, maybe the first time their name was ever printed was in Dave Campbell's. And so that's there for subscribers, as well as online content. We got exclusive podcasts and stuff like that. But for me, it's the magazine and the archives. Those are the things that really drive it home for me.
And, the cover photo is always a big thing. Everybody's wondering who's going to be on the cover. And I believe there have been some editions where you had different covers in different areas of Texas. Is that right?
We've done that a couple of times where we've done kind of alternate covers. In the past couple of years, we've done what we call a gatefold cover, where you have the main cover and the secondary cover kind of folds out from underneath it. And generally speaking, we've used that to celebrate high school football because, people would look at the history of our magazine. Usually we have college football on the cover. This is one where, but high school football is obviously a huge part of what we are as well. So we started the gatefold cover to help celebrate high school football as well.
And who was on the cover for the very first magazine in 1960? And how now? Obviously, you weren't around then with the magazine. How do you come about picking who's going to be on the cover now?
Well, the 1960 cover boy was Jack Collins, the outstanding halfback there for the University of Texas, the great Jack Collins, and we had him on our first edition. And by the way, I'll just throw this out there: if you are cruising around eBay or anywhere, you're at a flea market and you find a copy of the 1960 edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football for under about $500, go ahead and grab it, because that's a great deal. That's about the market rate for a copy in decent condition. At Dave Campbell's, we have all of 2 copies of it, so it's pretty rare. As far as the cover now is concerned, it's the biggest decision we make every year, and I tell people all the time, I'm really envious of Sports Illustrated, because if Sports Illustrated puts out a bad cover one week, well, they get to do it again next week. We don't get another shot at this for a year, and we got to get it right. And so we make sure that we want to show one of the most compelling stories in the state on the cover, and we usually sit down about February, think about who should be on the cover. And this year we took a look at what's happening at SMU. SMU coming off their first 10-win season in more than 30 years. They have been, they've been resurgent under quarterback Shane Buechele, of course, the Texas transfer, and he's kind of representative of the new way of doing business in college football, where the transfer market is a place where you can succeed. And SMU's done a fantastic job of building that program back up around Shane Buechele, and it's for him to come back home to Dallas to build up that hometown team into something, it was too good to pass up. And we weren't able to do a cover shoot. We had a cover shoot planned for April 20th. There was a stay-at-home order in Dallas County, so it was literally illegal for us to go and do that. But we were really, really pleased with the way that it turned out. We were able to get a great kind of action shot kind of before a game of Shane Buechele to put on the cover. We're really pleased with it.
And so in a typical year, maybe this isn't a typical year, but another year, you narrow it down. I mean, do you have an editorial board that says, we got these 5 guys that are going to be really big?
Generally speaking. yeah, my staff will come together and we'll kick around a few ideas. We'll kick around, generally we like to narrow it down to about 3, and then we really hash it out. And we say, and there will be yelling matches and screaming matches that no, it needs to be this guy, no, it needs to be this team, things like that. And generally speaking, we come to an agreement. We come to among our staff. I present it to our president, the president of our company, and make sure he's okay with it. He's never vetoed it. And the other thing that I do, and this is, is I go to Dave. I call Dave Campbell and I say, hey, Mr. Campbell, this is what we're thinking about doing for the cover. And again, he's always been very supportive and says, I think that's a great idea. He's had some other ideas in the past that he said, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? He's still involved in those. He's their editor-in-chief, but it's much more of an emeritus role at this point. But I want to make sure that he's proud of what we do. And so I make sure I ask Dave. He has final veto. If he wants to say, nah, you know what, why don't we put me on the cover instead? Then guess what we're doing? We're gonna have a Dave Campbell cover. It's a process that involves a lot of people. Because it's something we got to get right.
Fantastic. I think I have time for about 2, maybe 3 questions here. Don't want to limit your answers, so if we just get 2 in, that's fine. The first one, I want to know, what was the largest selling edition ever, if you know?
Are you saying this because you've got an Aggie producer?
No, of course not.
The answer is 2009 Colt McCoy on the cover. That was our best-selling edition, in which we predicted that Colt McCoy would lead them to a national championship. Darn near did. If he didn't, dislocate his shoulder in that game, he may have led it there. That's our best-selling edition. The second best-selling edition actually is 2008, which was the Graham Harrell. 2008. It was the Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree, Mike Leach edition for Texas Tech fans went nuts over that one. Those are our 2 best-selling editions.
Yeah. Well, we all remember that catch. If you're a UT fan, we remember Crabtree's catch.
Sorry.
Most definitely. All right. So I pull up your website. By the way, great website. So whoever's putting that together, you guys are doing a great job. But I see that TCU coach Gary Patterson's got a song that he has dropped. Is that legit? I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet because we've been on the air.
Yes, and actually this made it into our edition of the magazine because when we were doing interviews with Gary Patterson for the TCU preview, he mentioned, we kind of started off the conversation of, hey, coach, how you're stuck at home and, coaches are creatures of habit. You're not used to spending time at home. What are you doing to pass the time? Just kind of, nice kind of softball way of starting an interview. And he goes, oh, well, actually, I'm working on an album. And everyone just kind of goes looking around like, wait, what? You're working on an album? But yeah, Gary Patterson, I listened to the song before we came on the air, and I've got to tell you, I've heard worse songs. It's not bad. He's got Coach P's got some pipes. I would give it a listen. It's a very interesting thing, and just proof that these college football coaches, they're an eclectic bunch, man.
Interesting. Well, I think I've got time for one more, and that is, how do people follow you? I see you've got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Anything else going on?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. We're at TexasFootball.com, of course. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF, and check us out at TexasFootball.com. We cover football in Texas like nobody else.
Fantastic. Great interview with all the problems, even great interview with those. Thank you, Greg, for coming on. I'm looking forward to seeing the magazine this year. Thanks for listening, folks.
Thanks very much, Ed.
Attorney Ed Laughlin.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, the way they talk, the way they touch their hair. We hold details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones that we carry with us every day. Can we describe them when everything's right? Can we feel when something's wrong? Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. That's knowyourgirls.org. Brought to you by Susan G. Coleman and the Ad Council.